And people, Greta, are just discovering this movie still. You know, most of them saw it for the first time, and obviously they kind of liked it, you could tell, which makes you feel great, I bet, you know, coming out here and seeing this kind of response that you've been getting to this film, which is essentially your first it's certainly your first solo directorial achievement.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. No, this is amazing. This is what a surprise on a Saturday afternoon. And yeah, it was an amazing journey. Like I loved making the film. It's my first writing, directing solo debut, and I had such an amazing. It was such an incredible group of actors and crew and everyone who came together to make it. And I know everyone really poured their heart into it, and that it's being received that way it's the most exciting thing for me, and I think for all of us.
Yeah, it's something, and people, you know, I think will come up to you often and say, oh, so it's got to be your story. You're from Sacramento, you know, you went to a Catholic school, you did all of this stuff, but tell them the truth.
Well, it
is your story.
No, the truth is, I mean, I'm from Sacramento, and I did go to Catholic high school, and I really very much wanted to make a movie that took place in Sacramento because I love it very much, and it's my home, and I have really strong ties there. My family's there. My best friends from growing up are there, and so that's all very much grounded in what I knew. But the character of Lady Bird was actually something that both Saoirse and I realized when we started working on this together. It was not who I was when I was in high school. I was I never made anyone call me by a different name. I didn't dye my hair bright red. I was a very rule following kid. And I think we related on that level. And then when I wrote it, I was trying to almost create a person who was more brave than I had the ability to be, who was more wildly herself. And it wasn't until I saw Saoirse do it that I felt like I got to meet this flawed heroine that I had made up.
You know, and we have a bunch of actors in the audience here, and this is such a great, all the way down the line, and those that aren't here too, a great ensemble you put together. And, you know, as an actor yourself, what is that approach you have in working with actors as a director? I know you're not in the movie yourself, so.
Yeah, oh, well, I adore actors. I mean, I've acted a lot. It's such a huge part of who I am as a director because it's how I was on sets. It was my film school because I didn't go to proper film school. And I feel like for me, part of what's so gratifying about making movies is trying to figure out how to work with each individual with what they need, because every actor needs something else, and kind of getting in there. Like for me, my most treasured memories are the scenes when they for some reason didn't work, and we had to kind of get in there and figure out why and solve it together, because those are the moments where, you know, you're really being asked to bring all your creativity to the moment. And yeah, it was extraordinary, the group of people who said yes.
And how did you come upon the idea of casting Saoirse in this? How did that come to you? Did you think of her when you were writing it, or? No,
I wasn't thinking of anyone. I'm sorry, Saoirse. I haven't thought of yet actors while I was writing. Plus, it would seem pretty presumptuous of me to think of her. I was looking for my Lady Bird, and I was working with my casting directors, and I hadn't found her. And my producer, Scott Rudin, slipped her the script, and she really responded to it. And then we started Skyping, and then we met up at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was just instant. It was instantly right, and it was so different than what I thought, but exactly what I had wanted and not been able to articulate.
Wow. Saoirse, for you, what about playing this? We've seen you do so many great different kinds of roles, but I haven't seen you do one quite like Lady Bird before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone... Does this work? It feels like it doesn't work. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's quite seen a character like this before. And I think even within that world, nobody knows anyone like Lady Bird. I think, you know, you can see the affection that her family and her friends and Danny and, you know, all these different people have for her, because she is so many things. I think she's sort of allowing herself to be everything in order to find out which thing fits the best, you know, and to have that sort of bravery to pursue the thing, not knowing what the thing is a trait that I didn't necessarily have when I was younger, and I'm still trying to use a little bit more now. And so I think that was something that I admired an awful lot in her, just her bravery to sort of go for it, regardless of what it is.
Did you work with, I know Greta's...
Yours sounds so much louder. It really does.
Okay. Well, did you work... I'm sorry. I don't know.
No.
Did you work with Greta in developing the character? I know once the script's done and you're out shooting, that's that. But how did you develop it along the way?
I mean, I think when it came to, you know, the physicality, her movement, her look, which can actually just really feed into a character anyway, that sort of stuff we worked on together. You know, her bedroom, how her bedroom was going to look, and what was going to hang from her school bag, the little sort of similarities that her and her best friend were going to have, which actually are all really, really important things to add to a character as an actor, I think, with the director. So so much of it was on the page already, it really was, and we didn't really veer away, well, we didn't at all veer away from the dialogue. You know, it was sort of set in stone, which was great, so we always had that to fall back on and to build up from. But yeah, I think, you know, all of the progress came from Greta and I talking to each other a lot, spending time together in the year up to shooting, and then all of us getting to, you know, hang out a few months before we shot the film.
This is like a mother-daughter love story of a different sort, definitely, but you can relate to the two of you in a big way, Laurie. And, you know, this is such a great character that you have, because even though she seems rough on her, you can see the love there.
Yeah, I know that, and that's to Greta's credit, because you know, on the page you can instantly see the battles that we have and the triggers and, you know, the passive aggressive qualities that we're masters of. But Greta, I love the little moments of heart that are thrown here and there that go a long way in telling their backstory that we don't get to see, because we're only seeing them at this one particular time within their relationship. And you know that they're going to ease their way out of it. But I adored working on the movie and working with everybody in it, and reading it for the first time. I couldn't wait to get started on it, and it was wonderful to go to work every day.
Tell me about that opening scene in the car, which I understand was actually shot towards the end of the shoot. Right. But it's so real to look at. Did you really just fly out of that car while she's driving along?
Oh, yeah. Now it's louder. Yeah. I do all my own stunts, drop and rolls. I'm very good at the drop and rolls. No, we had a big conversation about it beforehand, because I've done quite a few stunts before where my life has been put in danger. So in this case, everyone was like so cautious, and you know, we were on a rig, so we did it near the end of the film, and it was so great because Laurie and I had rehearsed and we had done every other argument scene, which was really great. No, it actually was really great, because, you know, in rehearsals it was Laurie who said it at first, I think, that it was really important to sort of pinpoint what type of argument each argument was, and how we can't sort of repeat the same one twice. So we had gotten to know each other as characters and as actors really well, and then by the time we did this, it just all sort of clicked into place. But the car was put on a rig, and Greta was in a car in front, sort of looking at us through the windscreen with her walkie and her bag of Cheetos, and
You're an action director, all of us.
She's an action director. Paul Greengrass, what?
Yeah. It's just as long as I have Cheetos, I can do any action scene.
Yeah, but it sort of felt like it clicked into place straight away, right?
I loved working on that scene because it got to be kind of messy. We were stepping on each other's lines, and it was all emotionally all over the map, from weeping at the beginning to, here comes all the button pressing and hurling yourself out the car door at the end.
Right from the very first take of the two of them in the car, it was just great. And most of, the two shot of it's mostly that first take. They were so locked into each other by that point that it felt like getting to be an audience member to your own film as it's being made is one of the most pleasurable feelings I've ever had. Yeah.
And what's great as well with the way that Greta and Sam Levy, our DP, shot it was that there's so many scenes that are just mainly shot in a two-shot. And for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but it really takes the pressure off when you're acting to know that what you do with that other person is what we'll be seeing. It's not like it's a shot that's just for your performance. So it was really, that's why I love doing car scenes as well, because so much of it is about what's going on in that one take. So I think that really helped too, that we knew we had to bring it within that one take.
You and your cast here, so many of them and others in the movie come from the theater. Yeah. And it's just an incredible cast you put together. Their careers are largely in the theater, obviously many other places too. But was that intentional?
Well, yeah. I mean, I live in New York, and I go to the theater all the time. And I actually knew Laurie's work primarily from the theater, as well as Tracy Letts, who plays Larry.
As opposed to like Roseanne or other things.
I grew up without television because my parents hated me. No, they they were really looking out for me. So I didn't know. There's like lots of large, embarrassing gaps of cultural pop knowledge that I don't have. So I spent a lot of my youth pretending that I knew what the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were. Anyway, that's a side note. But yeah, and Timothy was. He went to LaGuardia High School in New York, but he was in a play in New York that I was pointed to, and I knew his teacher at LaGuardia as well. And Tracy, of course, he writes brilliant plays, and I've also seen him act in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in a play called The Realistic Joneses, and Lois Smith I'd seen on stage, and Stephen McKinley. I know. Stephen McKinley Henderson was a stage actor I love very much, and so in a way, it was. It's my favorite way to watch actors because there's nothing interfering with me looking at them, watching them work, and I'm a theater nerd at heart, and so I think that's always sort of what I gravitate towards, and I just get excited that I might be able to work with them.
It's what makes it one of the best ensemble cast I've seen this year.
And it's also fun to shoot, like Saoirse was saying about the two shots. Like I think there's something about actors who are used to a stage and a proscenium. I kind of want to give them the space to let them act with their whole bodies. I don't always want to just get in their faces. I want to see how they how they move with each other, like the other thing that's created between the two of them, not just isolation, if that makes sense.
And since you mentioned you, Timothy, and my mic's now not working, talk about... that's okay. Can you? No, this one works. Okay. Talk about your role here of Kyle, which is a really cool role. You've had a lot of great roles this year, too, obviously. So... congratulations on that and everything that's happening.
Thank you. And I think the thing that was important for me with this role, besides having excellent reference points, both from, I think, people in real life that Greta knew, but also just different books that were good to read for the character, it was important for me that I didn't just sit as an antagonizer. And if people see it that way, then that's fine too. But I had done a character arc on a TV show called Homeland, and when I watched it back, I always felt like there were moments where you can just be the antagonizer as opposed to finding the real human in that. And it's more a testament to the writing, but hopefully people can see that character as, an antagonizer in Lady Bird's life, but as someone that's genuinely suffering and has, real emotions and is just living a sad existence at this point and paranoid.
And I loved your scenes together too. You look at him; he's not the bad guy, but he's certainly the cool guy. Somebody you haven't seen before, Lady Bird, quite.
Oh yeah. Oh, she notices Kyle. What? Which one? Favorite stage?
Oh, this is just me complimenting myself. No, it was the R&B.
Oh yeah. Anyway, you had to be there. Sorry, this isn't script. Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. Timmy and I were doing an interview, and we were chatting about their dynamic. And I think, it's sort of the same actually with Jenna as well, who Odeya plays. But with Kyle, I think she so doesn't understand that world or what she perceives to be that world that she's just sort of like following his next move. You know what I mean? Because he's so unpredictable, and I think Danny, and he's so lovely, but it's a different kind of, there's a comfort there, and I think we're watching a kid, like what most kids do, they kind of push themselves out of their comfort zone little by little, just to see what's going to happen, and so he's that to her, I think.
Yeah, it was cool.